welcome or welcome back, beautiful souls, to the channel. I'm Chica, conscious mentor, and today I'm going to be going over how I was able to lose over 40 pounds just through shadow work. This is something that I do not see a lot of people talk about, and it was a really big surprise to me, especially as I started to go more into my own healing and supporting others through my healing container. It was just one of the biggest patterns that I saw a lot with people having one session with me and then losing 15 pounds, wondering how in the world did this happen. So I'm really excited to share this with you because I think more people need to know. I'm going to be going over 4 secrets and downloads as to how I was able to lose over 40 pounds through just shadow work alone. So before we get into the video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, like, subscribe, put notification bells so you don't miss a video. I do weekly videos Mondays and Fridays, and I also do lives. For those, if this is your first time meeting me, I'm a medicine woman. I am a Reiki master, shamanic healer, and my intention here is to help those connect with the earth energy along with healing themselves. So if you are interested in going into deep healing, learning about shadow work, or maybe you want to be a space holder and learn how to, you can apply to my programs down below. I also have courses and retreats where I host medicine healing retreats. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out down below. So I am actually kind of nervous about sharing this because it's something that I reflected in, and I recently been just journaling a lot about my journey. And I don't know if anyone on their phone gives like a reminder, 3 years ago, this was a picture you posted, or 3 years ago, this is where you were. And I didn't notice until I saw these reminders where I was like, wow, I actually lost a lot of weight. And being someone who struggled with body dysmorphia in my younger years, it's something that I definitely feel mixed feelings about, but I also feel like I want to share this vulnerability with you from both a healer, a student perspective, but also as a teacher. And I came down with 4 downloads and ways that how I was able to lose those 40 pounds just through shadow work, as well as helping other clients do the same. So the first thing, and I also want to just share, this is going to be a triggering video. So I'm just gonna, should have shared that a little bit earlier, but maybe I'll write something before this. This is going to be triggering. So just knowing that, noticing what's living in you as I talk to you, as I go through this video, sharing these things with you. The first way that I lost over 30 plus pounds just through shadow work alone, and this was probably when I lost the most weight, half of my weight, was my first session I did with healing, shamanic healing. It was 90 minutes long. And through the integration, I ended up seeing I lost more. And that was healing sexual trauma. So one of the biggest things is when we go through physical trauma, not only sexual, but physical trauma, whether it's from a partner, from a family member, or anyone, we are now being in this space where we feel like our body is unsafe, where we have to constantly be on watch, and it feels this kind of uncertainty. And, you know, that's where I find a lot of people have an imbalance with the feminine and the masculine. When we go through sexual trauma, that is affecting our sacral, our hara, our womb. And in that space, that is a place where we have creativity, we have emotions, we tune into worthiness, abundance. That's all in the sacral chakra. I actually have a video talking about how to heal the sacral chakra. If you're interested in that, you can check that out. Maybe I'll link it here. When we move in through a shock, and when we go through a trauma, physical or sexual trauma, what happens is we leave our body, our soul leaves the body because it's in shock. And then it comes back in the body feeling like it's not in the body it was before. I don't know if this resonates with anyone, because that's what I felt. And we're moving through this energy of like processing what has happened in our body. So what happens over time, and what happened to me, is that I went through a shutdown. Emotionally, I didn't feel safe in my emotions. I felt like someone had taken away my safety. And in doing that, I used my body as a protection. So there are 2 ways that I see this a lot when I'm doing healing sessions, including with myself. And I remember when I first started, and after it just recently happened, a few weeks later, I was working out 3 times a day. 3 times a day, morning, lunch break at work, and then at night. I wanted to shut off my mind and be disconnected to my body. So this is the first sign. If you feel like I want to be disconnected to my body, and this could be because of weight, this could be because you feel uncomfortable, you feel like, you know, this discomfort, you're feeling uncertain and safe in the body at all, that is usually a sign that we're using our body as a safety mechanism. Or in the other end, what we do is we avoid it completely, which is something that I saw months later, where I would just eat everything and I wouldn't eat things intuitively. I would just eat till I was full. And I went through periods after a year where I was really underweight, and then I was super overweight. And the extremes were just basically me eating my emotions. So that emotion and that energy stays in our womb, but it also goes in certain parts of our body, right? And it gets locked in those areas of the body. So when we do energy healing, such as Reiki, when I do Reiki on people, or when we're working with certain other modalities, what can happen is we're breaking that energy in those spaces and creating space and openness, but also bringing the body back to safety. Because at the end of the day, our body is the home of our soul, right? So if our soul and our spirit doesn't feel safe because it left its body, then obviously it's not going to feel connected. You're not going to eat intuitively. You're not going to, notice that you're going to the gym too much and you're escaping. You're using escapism to numb what is there, right? So a lot of the times when people go through trauma, sexual trauma, or physical as well, if they've felt that they've gone through a physical abuse, whether it's through a partner or a family member or stranger, what happens is, again, we feel that unsafetyness and we try our best to use our body as safety, right? The best example I give is like if you're hoarding something in your home and you have a basement and you just keep putting all the stuff that you don't want to use, and before you know it, your whole basement is like packed with all the things, right? So your basement is packed with the emotions you went through when, you went through that abuse, but then it's also you processing it. And it's also like, who do I talk to? How do I feel safe in this space? Makes the anger feeling like your boundaries have been trespassed, like your no was not in the space of being respected. So all these things come up when we're going through those traumas, and it can obviously also allow us to gain weight. So me going through my healing with my sexual trauma, learning how to move with my body, doing somatic healing, and working with some other things that I'm going to share with you guys, which is a perfect time to go into the first tool that I use on how I was able to lose over 40 plus pounds just through shadow work alone. Was I started working with plant medicine. Plant medicines, there's so many out there. I'm sure some of you have heard of them. One of them, which I'm actually now a carrier of, Campbell, is the one that really helped me kind of like connect the spiritual healing, like the shadow work healing I was doing energetically, with the physical, if that makes sense. So for example, I ended up, tuning into wanting to heal my womb because I had endometriosis. So one of the things about my story, again, this is just showing that the body is shutting down, which then causes us to hold all this energy when our body's like, it's like a car, it's running, like the gears are running, it's supposed to be moving waste out, cleansing our body. I always tell people our body knows what to do. When it starts to have issues that are physical manifestations, that means there's something emotionally or energetically that the body's trying to tell you that it wants to balance, and maybe we are not listening to it, so it's bringing a physical manifestation. So for me, the physical manifestation is endometriosis, which I ended up having after 2-3 years of going to the doctor over and over again, them not knowing what was happening, me frustrated and me not feeling heard and seen, going to the doctor, I eventually started to use herbs and medicine. So I would look up, which is kind of funny because my grandmother used to do this all the time. I would look up certain medicines for fertility, for womb, for helping with trauma, with PTSD, all of the things. And I just started using these medicines to help me heal, which was amazing. And when I started to do that, eventually it was kind of like I got a second ripple of all these health issues. I started having candida, parasites, like and it was basically a representation that my liver and my gallbladder were overworked, specifically my liver. Liver represents anger. And what happens is when we're holding so much anger from a trauma or from a life experience, it gets ringed in our body, right? The liver is like our golden part of our body. It's the part that really cleanses all the toxins. These two things, liver and gallbladder, they're like best friends. They need to work together. When people start to have those, the bile, the toxins there, and it's hard for the liver and gallbladder to process, that is when we start to see other things ripple out, like endometriosis, for example. So for a while, one of my friends, he was saying, Shika, you should do Campbell, And I was like, no, I'm not doing Campbell. Campbell was a frog medicine. I'm not really feeling called to it. Finally, I listened after going to the doctor for 9 months, at a naturopath, doing various things, and I still didn't feel like 100%. So I finally went, and the first time I had Campbell, the intuitive message I got is welcome home. Welcome home to your body, because you've been doing so much healing. You need to now integrate that with your body in a deeper way, because you're ready. You're ready to put that magic golden piece together. So Campbell is basically, and I have a video on what Campbell is, but I'll tell you just in terms of how it helps, it is a detoxer, right? So it's going to detox the body, and it works through peptides, it works through the lymphatic system, and how it helped me lose weight is it actually does help with the lymphatic system, right? So the lymphatic system is the closest to the skin. What does the skin represent? The root chakra. So people don't know it's not only our lower part of our body, but our skin, and there's certain layers in proximity of our auric field, which is the skin and outwards. The skin represents the root chakra. That's why they say that people build the root chakra when they start to grow into the womb, because that is your skin, right? You're starting to grow your body, your anatomy. And what do they say when you make it to the earth side? To have a lot of contact with the mother, to be connected with the mother as much as possible. So here with Campbell, what it taught me is like claiming claiming my body again, claiming all of the times. And this is the crazy part. And I always tell people, when we go through physical or sexual trauma, that is just the biggest event. But there's little events that happen prior to. And when I thought about it, it was the body dysmorphia. It was me feeling like I wanted to escape my body, wanted a perfect body. And every time I would look at myself, I wanted to change something. Every time I had a mirror, I would definitely stay in it for as many times and look at it as many times, just hoping that mirror would change so I can be smaller in my waist and smaller in my chest and just a different body. I really didn't want to be in this body. That was the teen self. That was the younger self. As my younger little child, 4 years old, before going into the bullying, I thought I was beautiful. My mom would tell me this all the time. You are a beautiful Black little girl, and remember that. She would always tell me that. And then when I went to school, things shifted. And that's when, that bullying and everything made me really kind of question my body, question my hair, question my face, question everything. And eventually my teen years rippled into that, layered into that. And then that was my body. Like, what do you think about your body? How do you want to compare yourself to people in high school? We go through these experiences, especially as women. It's even more of a thing in the social media. So here was Campbell really helped me all in all to detox all of the old beliefs I had in my timelines from my childhood to my teen years to the trauma. It actually even opened up my body, my womb, because there was so much energy of anger that I didn't allow myself to permit to let go. And if you think about it, like, how were you taught to express anger, right? Were you allowed to express anger, or did you have to lower your voice? Did you have to run to your room and scream in the pillow and tell all the things in your mirror and like tell your stuffed animals how mommy's not great and blah, 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 and all the things and running away from home? And we've all had that moment. So the same thing here, when I was losing the weight, I did Campbell, and what Campbell did is it allowed me to connect to my body and connect to structure of myself, like the connecting of my own inner structure. Saying gratitude for every part of my body, saying thank you for my health, that was my journey with it. And eventually through working with it a lot, I now, serve it. So if that is something that you would like to sit in ceremony, message me on Instagram. I do retreats and weekend ceremonies. And it's a great way to heal the womb and just open up the womb, the sacral, especially if we have that resistance and if we have that chi energy that feels like it's locked up and it's not actually opened up, right? Chi energy is the energy, it's our light force energy. It's the energy of life, right? And how it flows is it flows in and out like this. When we go through trauma or physical trauma, it like hits the wall and bounces up, hits the wall, bounces up. It doesn't actually go down, and flows properly through the womb, through the sacral, because it feels blocked, because it's like almost like jamming an extra jacket or a box in a closet that's filled with things, right? Eventually it's going to pop open. It's the same thing. And that pop open can be that like burnout of you just feeling like you really don't feel connected with your body, and you just like, there's no point of trying. And I can tell you through my experience that our physical bodies are representation of our emotional being, our emotional intelligence. And a lot of us may not have had an environment to explore that. Emotional intelligence is how do we express, how do we deal with our emotions on a day-to-day basis, right? And that's what Campbell brought me, was like, how do I deal with sadness? How do I deal with anger? How do I deal with feeling unworthy? Where does these emotions go? Because if they don't go out, they stay in, and that's what causes the gaining of weight. The third thing that really helped me was intermittent, we got it. My camera was full. Okay. So the third part of how I lost 40 plus pounds just through shadow work was intermittent fasting intuitively. I'm going to highlight intuitively because I will say that I've done intermittent fasting. And again, I'm talking from experience in this video, and for me and just my body type, it doesn't work long term. I do it when I feel like I have an emotion and I turn to food to stuff those emotions down. So intermittent fasting essentially means that you are not eating. You can drink water, but you're not eating for a period of time, a long period. Usually people know the 16-8, which is like you fast for 16 hours, you eat for your 8-hour window. I usually do the 18-6, which is you fast for 18 and you eat for 6 hours. There are many times where I have anger or I have pain that comes up, and the first thing I do is I go into my kitchen and I look in my fridge and I just want to snack, and I'm snacking my emotions. I'm angry. I just want to fill my body with food and think that this is going to solve it. And I know we've all been there. You get some ice cream, you get some chips, get some popcorn, and it happens. And I think one thing that has taught me is when I'm sitting and I have those emotions on an emotional day, I ask myself and my body, like, is this food going to nurture you? Is it going to help you feel this love and nurturing and nourish you? And pizza can nourish your happiness too. It just depends, right? It's all about balance at the end of the day. But will it nourish you? Is this a food that feels intuitively right? And in my body, I know my yeses and nos. So for example, my yes in my body feels like tingling in my sacral. My no feels like a twisting in my upper stomach. So if I feel like it's an upper stomach, I will sit, I will meditate. And it's usually around the last 3 hours of fasting when the hunger starts to kick in and I've had a glass of water. This is where the emotions and the veil can be so thin. But it has tested me to really be like, okay, Shika, you gotta just stick with it. You're almost there. You're almost got it. Just keep going. So that's been a really big life changer, was intuitive, intermittent fasting. And for me, it's really helped me a lot too. Now, obviously, if I'm on my bleed, I do not do it because I want to eat and nourish my womb. But for the most part, if I'm not on my bleed, like I will do intermittent fasting. The last thing I did that helped me lose weight, 40 plus pounds, which again, I can't believe that. Like, just noticing that is insane, was I made sure to really lower the stress in my life. when I was diagnosed, quote unquote, and I don't want to define myself, so diagnosed with endometriosis, I remember feeling so defeated, and I was so stressed about it. You know, I was going to doctors, I was going to naturopaths, and like, I was so out of my body that it was hard for me to even grasp the information that they were sharing to me, because I just wanted to not be in my body. And one of the biggest things was noting that I wanted to lower my stress. So it's funny, just going through my journey and now helping others do the same. One of the biggest things I've noticed is when people have things that hit the fan, that's where our priorities really show, right? You don't want to try and see how your life is on a good day. You want to see it in all days, right? So what I like to do is when I'm feeling really stressed is I really take time and I block out time for myself. So for me, I'm an introvert. So what I love is for me to have periods of time to really just be by myself. And sometimes I need to share that with my partner and be like, hey, I just need some me time. And as much as they probably want that attention, I need to really choose myself. And I think one of the biggest things that has helped me also lose, the 40 plus pounds is helping me with my shadow work on boundaries, establishing boundaries and being okay with saying no, being okay with that word no, because when we go through these experiences and traumas, we feel like that no is taken away from us, but it never is. It's just that we have to reestablish it. And I always tell people that trauma, physical trauma, sexual trauma, a lot of the times is kind of an initiation of our parts of ourselves from our earlier years that we have not claimed our power and our liberation. We have not claimed our feminine emotions and validated our emotions ourselves. And in doing that, we are now coming into this initiation through our healing and our shadow work to now say like no, like absolutely not, or absolutely yes, and feeling that and not feeling guilty for that. So how I lower my stress: meditation in the morning, meditation at night, priority. I make sure that I don't do many healings because I'm a healer and I hold space as well. So I make sure I don't do many healings throughout the week. And even when I had my 9-to-5 job and I was going through this journey, what I would do is I blocked off a certain time. So for example, I would have like an hour every day where it's either I'm laying in bed or I'm meditating or I'm listening to music and I'm just like by myself. Another great thing is when I'm in the car, I would always listen to meditation tunes and music, and that also gave me really good vibes and I felt it was so amazing. It was so supportive. I would highly suggest doing that because sometimes we're stuck in traffic and we're just like feeding off of the anger of the energy around us of people not wanting to be stuck in traffic. So it allows us to really breathe, and bringing those deep breaths as you're at the wheel really helps as well. So yeah, that's my journey, and I'm still losing weight quite a bit, and I've started to be more active, which has been helpful. But to be honest, like I know a lot of people have different versions. They say like you should eat more or eat more protein, you should eat less calories, you should do keto, you should work out. There's all these things online. My answer to you is just find out what your body is telling you and what's the best for you intuitively. Because at the end of the day, yeah, all these things are great, but if it's not going to encourage you and it's going to not trigger you in a good way, but trigger you in a space where you're comparing yourself, like I felt because of my experience with body dysmorphia, I felt it was important to me to do it the way that would make my body feel safe in little baby steps. So I didn't add all these things right away. I started doing like the healing for the trauma, and then I slowly started to do, intermittent fasting and eating intuitively. And then eventually I started to add all the other things like the plant medicine, and started to adapt more of like what stress levels and when do I know I'm more stressed. Another great thing that I love to do, and I do them with my clients as well, is I do a check-in with myself. So in the morning, if I'm feeling a little bit off, I just check in from 1 to 10, 10 being the best I felt, 1 being the worst I felt. And this just really lets me know, okay, where am I at? What do I need? If I'm checking in at a 5, most likely I am making sure that I am being so nurtured as much as possible. That sometimes means having that humility and like maybe even like canceling a hangout with a friend because I really need to focus on myself. but that has been a big part of like just my healing as well. I'm gonna add one last one before I end the video that's just coming up, is my sleep. Because I had PTSD and I also had a lot of shakes, my body never had time to rest. So one amazing plant that I started using was valerian. And valerian is basically, they have them as sleeping pills, but they're it's the natural sleeping medicine of the earth. And I like to have it as a roll-on, or I'll have it as a tea, and it's really great for insomnia or people have a hard time sleeping, because I would literally stay up till 4, sometimes 5 in the morning, and then wake up to go to work at 8 when I worked 9 to 5. And it was just so draining. I was not functional some days. It was really hard for me. I was like a robot. And we're not robots, we're humans, we have feelings, we need to tune into that. So when we're going into a body that's trying to numb itself from something, I encourage you to create space for that, even if it's scary. So the last shadow work prompt I'm gonna leave you with is, what are some things that you numb in your body, and how do you use your body to numb it? So what are some actions that you do to numb your body? And just reflect on that and see if you can create an intuitive steps to help you on your path of losing weight that feels good to you. So I hope this video inspires you, and it definitely feels good to share, just chat with you guys and get intimate. Let me know down below what resonated with you, and also let me know what you liked about this video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, like, subscribe, put notification bells so you do not miss a video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Love you.